What's up guys, it's Drac, and today I've got something pretty exciting. So I don't get to play with a lot of prototypes explicitly like this, and I certainly don't get to play with a lot of prototypes that are this polished. So we've seen a lot of marketing for this on Facebook, on Instagram. If you are a dedicated Nerfer, this should be pretty familiar. And it is the Shelby Destroyer. This is their first prototype of the blaster. You can see here, this one is serialized. It's 1023, so 10,023. I don't know if that means that it's taken 23 iterations to get to this point, or if that's just where they kicked off, but it is incredibly sharp. For a 3D printed prototype, this feels like the kind of thing that would be behind a glass case at Toy Fair. It is 3D printed, but if you look at the finishing on it, there's been a lot of post-processing, certainly more than your average Talon Claw. And inside it, there are a bunch of different features. So I'm really excited to get a hands-on, kind of unbiased look at this thing and share it with you guys, because they're in the middle of an Indiegogo campaign right now. And I think it's cheaper right now to back it than it will be at retail. This is the flagship blaster. It's actually their first and currently only offering. And what it is sort of like Vortex Reborn. And when I say reborn, I mean from the ground up, starting with the ammo. So this is the magazine. And this magazine is actually one of my favorite features of the product, just because I've been wanting Nerf magazines that flipped with half lengths on each side forever. I've mentioned that before in vlogs. This is sort of a different kind of flip, but this has 60 of their discs on each side. And again, when I say discs, the only comparable disc that we know of is the Vortex disc, which is a two-part kind of rubber foam construction. These are all some sort of dense closed cell foam. They almost resemble Neko wafers to me. You guys remember these are, I feel like they've been shot in enough places that I don't want to put this one in my mouth, but it reminds me it's the forbidden Neko wafer. Anyway, with 60 on each side, this has an onboard capacity of 120 shots, which is a pretty serious onboard ammo capacity. That's more than I think anything Hasbro has ever put out. It would require a proton pack to get up to that level of onboard capacity. The cool thing about it is that as opposed to a flip magazine or like the quote unquote flip clips, this one flips lefty right. So you can see on the inner compartment here how the thrower is gonna work. It has an aperture that allows it to sense discs, and then when it runs out, it'll stop firing, and all you would have to do is drop the magazine and flip it. The entire assembly is completely ambidextrous. It's got a magazine release detent on both sides. Now, I'm trying to be relatively gentle with this prototype because it's been to a lot of places. It's been to Texas. It's done quite a few things, but I am truly impressed with the quality of the prototype. And I want to show you some of the features. So the blaster has a rechargeable battery in the back here. It's definitely a LiPo. It's got balance chargers attached to it, and when you plug that in, again, gently, the blaster should sputter up to life, and then it's going to have variable features. It's got an onboard computer. It's got an Arduino. You can actually see the programming cable on the prototype is sticking out there. I think that that's neat. It's sort of how they're going to attack multiple demographics, is with higher and lower speed settings. While originally they were talking about putting that kind of behind an app, now it's going to be in front on an app. This whole thing is going to be app programmable, and you're going to be able to do things like change the lights up here. Right now, it's a very clean sort of black and white silhouette, but as we start messing with the lights, you see that you could add team colors and nonsense along that line. They're static in the prototype, but you'll be able to do tracing for the discs as they fly out. So every time you fire, they'll shoot out that way. I think this is a pretty handsome Sith sort of loadout. Now that the blaster is sputtered to life and in its semi-auto form via the selector switch here, you can actually barely hear that it's got sort of an idle hum. And that's because I think the Arduino powered motor, it looks like it uses a single sort of thrower inside, a la Nitron. It's got kind of an idle hum going because it's vibrating at a lower RPM right now, specifically so that it doesn't have to spool up quite as fast. So it's going to give you a faster reaction time on the trigger. You're not going to have to wait for your motors to spool up. And I think that hopefully that'll lead to your first shot being as powerful as your second shot. That kind of consistency is really cool. It's less important when you have 120 rounds on board, but I'm going to insert that like that. It's actually got a pretty good response here. When I drop this, it's pretty crisp. You could obviously be a lot more violent when they're not all SLA or FDM printed, but I'm gonna go ahead and fire it. I'm pretty excited to do that. Shouldering it is pretty comfortable. This is a flat shoulder stock, but I think that there's lots of room to tweak that as we go along, add some concavity there. Up here, you've got pick rail, standard pick rail down here where you could put the grip of your choice, and then a full top pick rail where you could put any optic that you were so inclined to do. But that's enough talking about it. Let's see kind of what it sounds like and how hard these forbidden wafers are flying. Well then. So it definitely stays spooled up after you fire it once. The one that came out pretty fast, certainly faster in person when you're holding it than it was 20 feet away from the stage at AT&T Stadium. So over here, I've gone ahead and turned the dial all the way up to 11. That's gonna be the full auto mode. And that's really where this kind of onboard ammo capacity should shine. 60 discs at a high enough rate of fire should be pretty spicy and lets you kind of arc and track your target as you're going through. I also just want to compliment this trigger guard. The blaster in prototype form is relatively heavy, and I'm resting a lot of the weight on the trigger guard. That's impressive SLA. It must be like tough 1500 or tough 2000 or something. Let's fire off a full auto volley, see how fast that comes out. We gotta take this thing outside. It's actually the discs. It's been so long since I've played with Vortex. The discs are ricocheting off of everything in my office. They've got enough power that the forbidden NACO wafers are turning this into like Temple of Doom almost in here. Pat's dodging things behind the camera. So I think that with that said, we've got to take it outside. We've got to see what this this sort of featureful set of tricks is going to do in a real world scenario with actual room to run, range to shoot down, maybe some targets at range, and then we need to get some chronograph numbers because this is unlike any other ammo. It's almost like if you cut the foam off of a Vortex disc, you would have something like this. So the aerodynamics of this, we need more data. Let's go. All right, guys, so we brought it outside for what Christopher Robin would have called a blustery day, and old Babalalo is still here to
keeping you dry, sir.
let's get some crony numbers, lads. Why I still have air in my lungs. Oh goodness. All right, so let's put it over the old ballistic chronograph. That one's 95, 105, 103. And so it appears to consistently be in the 100s, right? Like right at about 100. Once it's spooled up, 100 to 105. That's certainly well above what Vortex did. It's comparable with Rival. It's less than your average Talon Claw, which is to be expected. This is not the kind of ballistic ammo that's going to be shooting entire football fields. However, due to the nature of the lightweight discs, I think that we should be able to get some pretty impressive range here. So assuming Bobo's willing to follow me. Follow me over this way. We'll be able to keep ye old prototype dry as we we'll start with a couple in semi-auto, and we'll just see what sort of range performance we can expect, what kind of consistency, and then we'll just lose half of these prototype discs, I'm sure. That's over 130 feet. I don't
Do it again.
So like I've said before, FPS isn't everything. That it's just gone. Yeah, but how mad are they going to be when we have whatever? One more time into the.
Wow.
It's just gone.
Yeah.
Now, like depending upon how it catches the wind or the rain drops, it's banked left the first time and right the second time. I want to put it in full auto. I'm going to aim specifically for my tree. I'm actually going to aim down because we're going to lose a lot of discs. Make the Shelby Blasters people. I'm sure more than a little irritated that they have less discs now, but it's anything for the gram, right, YouTube?
Excellent form, sir.
I need the umbrella back.
Point blank has a bit of a punch to it.
I was gonna say, so you.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Very good.
Excellent form. It's
Very good. Very good.
It's actually it's a pretty serious in terms of its range, the rate of fire, the accuracy, the grouping in full auto in particular was pretty tight. We just broke the 180 rule of filming like multiple times. I'm really trying desperately not to get the exposed control electronics into any trouble, but I guess to sum things up, it's on Indiegogo right now. They're fully funded, which means that they've assured me that they're going to production for just at around 200 bones. You get the blaster, plenty of discs, the battery, the charging port, etc. and so forth. The app has been revised to the point where the app is free. There will be variable speed settings, variable color settings. All of those features will be free. There's going to be a way to buy reloads through the app. I know that at one point the app was a very confusing bit of this blaster's technology, but I think that, you know, the ability to change the color on the blaster and the speed on the blaster would be great, but I understand that with the entire scope of enthusiasts, old and young alike, that an app-based interface might be preferable for some, and who knows, maybe those features will pop up in the future, although right now it is a very clean silhouette with no additional like dials on it other than the select fire switch, which again, I think might be moving to a control suite over here as well. But the overall silhouette is very sharp. It's almost got a Star Wars Empire-esque sort of silhouette. It's kind of organic. A lot of these bevels are very smooth. I think that it's got terrific potential. It is an expensive blaster, but it's clearly doing things that other blasters at that price point don't. So I think that it's a pretty slick option. In particular, I just am always happy to see new companies innovating in the space, trying new things. Pretty clear from Hasbro's current lineup that they have no interest in delving into the disc space any further, much to Bobo and I's chagrin. We were big fans of the original Vortex, so it's nice to see something, a floatier ammo type doing the long-range performance. Once again, the overall kind of aesthetic of the blaster, like I said, is good. It's got a kind of organic feel to it. It definitely has good weight to it. I wouldn't give it to somebody too wee. It's also long. Like, you have to remember for the purposes of these videos that that Bobo and I are both we're relatively large individuals. I'll just say for the sake of the internet that we're both well over 6 feet tall, and so it feels good at that size with that wingspan and what have you. If you're particularly wee, it might be more of a two-hand blaster, but pretty serious primary class disc slinger, the likes of which we haven't seen since the Boom Nitron days, and certainly doing things that the Boom Nitron did not. I think that it's sweet. Again, you can check out the links in the description box down below. Take a look at the Shelby Destroyer for yourself. Back them if you're interested, and get that starter pack with everything in it. Thank you guys so very much for watching. As always, much love. Blast on, Drac out!